The time by Sagicor Bank is...
It is now 7 o'clock and it's time for the Morning Watch.
Listeners to Love 101 FM are advised that the views and opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily those of Love 101 FM.
Hello and welcome to the Morning Watch on Love 101 FM. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. A special welcome to our listeners on love101.org. And if you are overseas and on the move, US listeners can access us at 712-832-8001. And if you are in the UK, 0330-332-6541. Or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also join us on Love 101 FM Facebook and the YouTube Live in the main watch. The case of the homeschool and the JTC bill, Jamaica Teaching Council bill. And in the second watch, police's right to withhold versus people's wanting to know. For our social media question, we ask, why do you need to know all that the police knows about a case you're interested in? Share your responses in our Facebook or YouTube Love 101 FM Jamaica Live and also WhatsApp comments and voice notes too. 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll share your comments later on the program, but first here's a quote.
Finger never say, look here. Him say, look yonder. Translation, finger never says, look here. He says, look yonder. Explanation, people do not usually point out their own faults.
Okay, good morning, Deidre. I like the linguistic class.
Good morning to you, Stokeley. How are you today?
I am well, and you are also at the same time teaching us lessons.
Yes, we are doing quotes, Jamaican proverbs and Jamaican quotes this month, the month of August.
I see. Well, I'm aware of that, but the way you did it, it sounded almost like you were,
Teaching a class.
Tutoring a class. Oh, good morning, Deidre. Looking forward to a good program today.
Same here.
The main watch will be back after this break, listeners.
Juicy patty, them double up the choices. And we know say, you want to like it. And you face start your morning off right with a cup of porridge full up of beer niceness. Two combination, which one we try first? When you a go to school or you a go to work for what the double can't be twice the flavor. Or could have the pecan, you end up a pay for. Try our pecan porridge, that's peanut mixed with hominy. Or our double corn porridge, that's hominy mixed with cornmeal. Try it today at Juicy Patties.
Available at participating stores.
Keep fully connected with Flow Fiber Fast Internet at home and on the road with LTE data and calls for a fast, reliable experience anywhere. Over 500 communities have been upgraded since 2020, making more of Jamaica Flow Fiber Fast. And with Yard and Road, get Flow Fiber Faster Yard and LTE Road for as low as $3,999 plus GCT. Visit discoverflow.co to get connected on Jamaica's largest network. Conditions apply.
The world is full of job opportunities locally and overseas. Let us bring them to you. Register now at Distinction College located at 26 Hagley Park Road, Kingston, 6 Nugent Street, Spanish Town, and Ocho Rios. In 2 to 3 months, earn local and international certificates in housekeeping, food and beverage, food preparation, receptionist, and customer service. Qualified to work in hotels, cruise ships, restaurants, and businesses worldwide. No subjects required, no age limits, no entrance test. Day, evening, and Saturday classes begin very soon at low school fees, easy and flexible payment plans. Call us 356-4167.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. While most of Jamaica's children go through the Ministry of Education's traditional system of education, meaning they go to a central location, if I could use that terminology, where they sit with other students in a class and are educated, there is a recognizable percentage that are taught at home. And with the new Jamaica Teaching Council bill on the horizon, the Jamaica Association of Homeschoolers is very concerned. My understanding is that homeschools are already monitored, or there is some level of oversight from the Ministry of Education. But this particular bill, if it were to become law, has some things in it that would cause the homeschool community to not be very happy about it. We have online today Trudy Lee Panton. She is the secretary of the Jamaica Association of Homeschoolers. And there is also a student online today, I gather, who is someone who is homeschooled. This student is 14 years of age, and the name of the student is Luca Gorton. Good morning, Trudy Lee Panton, and good morning, Luca Gorton, or Gorton. Are you both on?
Yes,
we are.
and good morning to you.
Yes,
Great.
good morning.
Great having you both. Now, I'm going to start with you, Trudy Lee Panton. Who and what is the Jamaica Association of Homeschoolers, and how long have you all been around as an association?
Okay, good morning again, Sir Marshall and your team and your listeners as well. So, as you mentioned before, I'm the secretary of the association, and we have been operating since 2013, officially registered as a friendly society in 2020. So it's been a while since we've been around as a community, and it is in simple terms a group of families and friends of homeschooling who have decided to come together to form sort of a support group for families who are homeschooling, not just for the purpose of education for the children, but also emotional and other types of support for the families who are homeschooling. As we share a lot in common in other areas of our lives, and so we seek to provide that type of aid to each other in the form of financial, psychological, and emotional support.
Very interesting. And what are your concerns about the JTC bill, Jamaica Teaching Council bill, and why?
Okay. So again, briefly, we are very uncomfortable with the reference to homeschooling in a bill that seeks to dignify the profession of teaching. In short, it really doesn't apply. If you go through the bill, the purpose, the aims of the bill really doesn't apply to parenting and homeschooling. We are more aligned as a group of parents to acts, policies that seem to regulate the home space. And
I just want to, I'm going to ask to pause one moment, only because of limited time, never enough time on the Morning Watch. Are there any specific provisions or areas of concern in the bill that you would like to highlight today?
Okay, well, specifically Section 4, Section 29, Section 37, those sections speak directly to homeschoolers, requesting that we be authorized, though unclear the nature of the authorization, that we be authorized to teach
Okay,
our
can you
children.
slow down a little bit? Sections 4
Sections
and
4,
29.
right,
And what else?
and 37.
Okay, go
Yes.
ahead, continue.
And they mandate in different ways that parents be authorized to teach their own children. Now, we are not opposed. We are not opposed to regulation as a community. What we are saying is that we should be supported in this in the venture of homeschooling rather than mandated to be either provide some kind of credit or professional accreditation in order to teach our own children, and we should not have to pay an authorization fee to teach our own children.
Very interesting. And I don't know if either of you know this, maybe some of the listeners and viewers, because we are being viewed on YouTube, may know this or, maybe aware. But when we last looked at this area, I indicated on air that I was homeschooled up to age 5, but my mother, who did the tutoring, I don't think she called it homeschooling. She was just teaching me at home, the alphabet and words and numbers, and it actually assisted. So by the time I started to go to school, the centralized school system, that is, I was actually ahead of most of my peers in class.
Yes.
Going to move over now to our student, 14 years of age, uh, Luca Gordon. Luca Gordon, how are you, sir?
I am good, thank you.
Excellent, Luca Gordon. Now, I kind of identify with you in a sense because although my mother didn't call it homeschooling, I was actually homeschooled up to age 5. Would you recommend homeschooling to others, Luca Gordon, and why?
Yes, I would recommend homeschooling to others. The main reason I would say this is because of the various benefits which it has over the public education system. Namely, in my experience, would be how it allows the ability for deep work, which is when you take a few things, 1, 2, or 3 things which you are good at and you like doing, and you pour the majority, if not all of your time into those things. And what this allows you to do is to not only engage with your interests, but just to be the absolute best you can be in those things, because that is how really successful people are truly successful. They take a few things or one thing and they put a huge amount of effort in, and they put a huge amount of effort in, and this is how you be truly successful. It allows you to compete against other people, to truly rise above the rest, and separate from that, it just allows you to create a really great quality work, and you can't have that in the public education system. So yes, I would.
Very interesting. As you say that, Luca Gordon, do you also find that the individualized or the more individualized attention in your homeschooling setting or your homeschool setting, you find that beneficial as well?
Yes, I do.
I see. That I do recall when I was homeschooled up to age 5. I do remember that very individualized attention, and there was a lot of time for my mother to explain what she was teaching. She wasn't competing in terms of, well, I wasn't competing for her attention along with a class full of other students. Before we head to the break, Trudy Lee Panton, any comments on what Luca Gordon just said, because he's experiencing it?
Oh, definitely. And his story is very much a natural aspect of the homeschooling space. I'm happy to hear that you have also had some homeschooling experience yourself. And yeah, the fact is, it can come in different facets. I believe I was partly homeschooled as well, in that while I was going to public school, and I went to some of the best, I believe, I got significant support from my parents at home.
Hold that thought through the Lee Panton, because I understand. I think I know where you're going. I had that experience in terms of the doing of the homework. But hold that thought. Listeners, please stay with us. Very interesting conversation. We'll be right back on the Morning Watch.
Get better coverage for yourself and your family as low as $800 a month. The time by JN Life Vest from JN Life Insurance is
7:15 a.m.
We are a proud, resilient nation.
60 and growing stronger. Together we'll make the future bright. With Flow by our side. One love. One love. Massacre. Let us build together. Stronger forever.
Keeping the roots strong. Our many.
To everyone.
No flow from Flow, Jamaica's network.
It hurts if you don't check birds. Be excellent customer service. Our staff is knowledgeable and trustworthy. And we have a wide variety to supply society. And the price is right, yes, it's worth it. The solution to your auto parts links to one-stop shop. And we deliver to, so if you can't come in, just link with our WhatsApp. Or call and make your order. And remember, there's no other. So it hurts if you don't check birds. So there's no need to search. It hurts if you don't check birds.
Love 101 now presents Facts on Monkeypox. There are no treatments specifically for monkeypox virus infections. For mild cases of monkeypox, over-the-counter medications like ibuprofen and acetaminophen can help with symptoms. Avoiding skin-to-skin contact is the best way to limit the spread of monkeypox. That was Facts on Monkeypox, presented by Love 101 FM.
Hello and welcome to the Morning Watch. Welcome back, those who were with us before, and welcome to those who are just joining. And in the Morning Watch today, in this first watch, we are speaking with Trudy Lee Panton, Secretary of the Jamaica Association of Homeschoolers, and Luca Gorton, 14 years of age, who himself is being homeschooled. And the topic in question is the case of the homeschool and the JTC bill, the Jamaica Teaching Council bill. Just before the break, Trudy Lee Panton, you were about to indicate that, whilst you went through the normal school system as persons understand it, the centralized system, you did benefit from some amount of homeschooling. And I think I was running ahead of you a little bit. Was it in relation to assistance with homework, etc., and all these massive projects you're given in school to take home to do? Well, let me not put words in your mouth. What did you need?
Okay, well, we didn't have those massive projects. I'm coming from the time of common entrance, and so it was much less cumbersome in terms of the home-based work. But my parents did some of what you mentioned in the first 5 years, where before you went out to basic school, I was definitely supported from family in terms of those foundational learning, especially literacy concepts. And also throughout school, my father was very instrumental in supporting what I learned at school, providing further clarification even beyond homework and projects. So I consider it very, very integral to my own educational experience. And that's why I prefer to call it that. But so what I'm trying to say then is that even if a child is being schooled formally in a part of public school, they can be homeschooled by the parents through supplemental work, sometimes extra classes that may be managed by the parent, private tutoring, etc.
Totally understand, Trudy Lee Panton. And one of the thorny issues about this bill is the requirement, for example, that a teacher, the person who is approved to do the teaching, ought to have a bachelor's degree, for instance. And many home schools or, parents generally may not have that qualification. So I'm going to throw among throw out a wild one here, if you will, or throw a spanner in the works. Suppose you are getting assistance at home from your parent with a project, which amounts to the parent not just assisting you, but doing a little bit of tutoring at home so that you can understand how to do the project. That parent has no bachelor's degree, but they have a good high school education, they have a lot of common sense. And this assistance actually helps the student to do well in the project. Within the parameters of this bill, if it becomes law, could it be that they have violated the law and could be subject to these hefty penalties? Trudy Panton, have you ever thought of that?
That is a beautiful example of why the bill itself is very vague in its classification of homeschooling and what homeschool is, and in a very broad sense, these are some of the activities that full-time homeschool parents engage in. Simply, and I'm sure in Luca's case, while his mom is very much involved in the process, she's a facilitator of his learning. And so there are a lot of things that he engages in independently through his own research and several other resources that are available to every child. And so technically she's doing simply, you say, doing some projects with Luca. And so if that is considered a violation based on the vague definition in the bill, then it means that even a parent who is providing supplemental aid, educational support to their child who is attending public school could very well be violating. And that's why we say that we don't fit. It's not a fit for parents. We need our own bill. We need a bill that regulates parenting and the family generally.
Yes, and increasingly parents are actually doing a lot of facilitating and assisting and even some amount of tutoring at home, because some of these projects, sometimes the weight of the projects, the poor child cannot manage it. Luca Gorton, sir, now how would you feel if the JTC bill was applied to those who school at home? How might this affect you, sir? How would you feel?
Well, I do not believe it should be applied to parents at home. The main reason for this is because you wouldn't say that someone needs a license to be a parent in the first place. So, following that line of thought, why should a parent need a license to teach their children?
And parents are really the first teachers, but continue, Luca Gorton.
Exactly. And so what I will say though is it does require oversight. We do need to make sure the kids are happy and healthy and work is actually being done. But the regulations, what they do is they tell parents how to teach, when to teach, what to teach. And that takes away from all the benefits that home education allows for. Like, take, for example, if parents are mandated what to teach their kids, then say if a kid is mandated to learn physics, what if they're really great at and love doing biology and they could go be a doctor, but instead they can't do that because they're spending all their time on physics instead? Why would you do that? That doesn't seem
Very
to
interesting,
be a
Luca
good idea.
Gordon, and very interesting thoughts, sir. Trudy Panton, what has been the response of the council to your concerns? Because clearly you have raised your concerns with them. Maybe maybe there are even some concerns you hadn't thought of as yet. But what has been the response of the council to your concerns?
Well, surprisingly, very supportive in our position. In fact, we did meet with them at a joint select committee. Were we were happy to know that they accepted our late submission to the parliament, which is a very positive look in terms of their willingness to engage with us as an association and community. So there were several recommendations and suggestions by the members of the council, or rather the members of the committee. They were very much cognizant of homeschooling as a community before, maybe not necessarily in practice, and so I think they were enlightened by our discussions, and I think there was a majority support for our general position that we should be excluded from the bill. There were promises to continue discussions with us in various forms in framing subsequent homeschooling policies, and possibly even in providing more support through the existing unit, the independent schools unit at the Ministry of Education that currently provides oversight for homeschoolers. So they welcomed the idea.
Yes, and what I also find interesting is that every report I have heard of a homeschooler going into what we call external exams, all these reports I have heard are positive, that they do very well, and their outcomes are not prejudiced in any way because they were homeschooled. In fact, they tend to excel
Precisely,
over
yes.
and above those of their counterparts who are oftentimes not homeschooled. Is that what your information says to you as well, Trudy Panton?
Most definitely. The rate of success, I mean, without doing my own specific or statistical research, it's based on our understanding in the community in Jamaica. We have overwhelming success from the homeschool community. There are persons who are homeschooling who are not a part of the association, who have seen tremendous success in their efforts to homeschool. And so it generally, it's, and in fact, one of the members of the committee mentioned, what is not broken, do not fix it. And certainly this is one area of the education system that is not broken. There is no evidence that there is abuse of children who are homeschooled. There is no evidence of any mistreatment or resulting negative behaviors from children, even antisocial behaviors that that's generally the question we get. What about socialization? Yet still, our homeschool children seem to integrate very well, probably even better in some instances,
And they tend to
into
be more
the
polite. I find they tend to be more polite,
definitely,
extremely polite. Yeah.
definitely, yes, and able to function in a variety of experiences and circumstances as they get older. Luca is a prime example of that. His
Thank you.
experience, his involvement in social spaces is very much a testament of what homeschooling does.
Understood. Only because of time, I want to quickly ask you, uh, Trudy Lee Panton, the recommendations. Any recommendations you want to air or say on air right now
Well, recommendations, well, we have
to the
many, but
committee?
to the committee, well, we do, as I mentioned before, um, encourage the committee to look very closely and deeply at creating a proper system of education that not only caters to one type of child, which is part of one of the challenges that the public school system faces at this time.
yes.
I believe that
Centralized.
there's much to learn from the homeschooling community as it relates to improving the public school system itself. And so we welcome further dialogue. We encourage them to
I wanna get a last word in
do
from
just
Luca
that.
Gorton. Luca, if you could, what would you like to say in a second or two to the committee?
What would I like to say? I would say that they should deeply consider supporting homeschooling by encouraging more people to do it, by not regulating it as heavily as they are proposing,
Well
and
said by
by
someone who's
doing things
homeschooled. We have
like,
to leave it. We have to leave it
say,
there, Luca
opening
Gorton.
more and
Luca Gorton.
upgrading public libraries to allow.
Only because of time, we have to leave it there, Luca Gorton. You said it. You said it
Yes.
very, very well. I want to thank Miss Panton and Luca. We'll be right back, listeners. Please stay with us on the Morning Watch. Thank you, Miss Panton and Luca.
Thank you.
Talk to Jane Bank today to find out about achieving your own sweet home in 30 days. The Time by Jane Bank Mortgage is
7:31.
We are a proud, resilient nation.
60 and growing stronger. Together we'll make the future bright. With Flow by our side. One love. Massacre. Let us build together.
Stronger forever. Keeping the link strong. Out many.
To everyone.
Enough love from Flow, Jamaica's network.
Love 101 presents Facts on Monkeypox. The monkeypox virus comes from the same family of viruses as smallpox, but it is not related to chickenpox. Common symptoms of monkeypox are fever, headache, muscle aches, and swollen lymph nodes. Monkeypox also causes a rash that looks like raised bumps on the skin. The virus typically spreads through bodily fluids or by touching the rash of someone who has monkeypox. Animals can also pass the virus to humans either by being scratched or bitten by the animal or by preparing, eating meat, or using products from an infected animal. That was Facts on Monkeypox, presented by Love 101 FM.
Colgate Triple Action. 3 benefits for a deep clean. As a mother, you always want to give the best to your family and to make them happy. With Colgate Triple Action, you give them 3 reasons to smile: cavity protection, whiter teeth, and fresh breath. A unique formula with a minty flavor they will love. Colgate Triple Action. Find it at your favorite store.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. Let's take a look now at the newspapers to see what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing. And we turn firstly to the Gleaner. Further afield, South Korean rain turns roads into rivers, leaves 8 dead. That story in relation to South Korea from AP. We have another story now locally. 28-year-old man killed in Spanish Town. And just one more from the Gleaner in light of the story itself. And I believe this may have been from yesterday. Reported today, Trump says FBI conducting search of Mar-a-Lago estate. We now turn to the Observer. Quite a number of stories here. One from the neighboring country of Cuba. Oil facility fire jeopardizes Cuba's frail electric system. Also reference to the story in relation to former U.S. President Donald J. Trump. Trump says FBI conducting search of Mar-a-Lago estate. And another local story here: man killed, female shopkeeper injured by gunmen in Spanish Town. Those and many other stories in both major daily newspapers. Coming up next, we'll read for you some of the feedback from our Facebook, YouTube, and WhatsApp question, which is: why do you need to know all that the police knows about a case you're interested in? If you haven't done so yet, leave your responses in our Facebook or YouTube Love 101 FM Jamaica Live, and also WhatsApp comments and voice notes to 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll be right back.
Kingston, look out! You are next in the I Love Summer Road Tour. We can't wait. Saturday, August 13th is just round the corner, but the excitement is building. I want you to come on, yeah. I love summer! I love it. I love summer. I love it.
He knows my name.
Here is your opportunity to connect with someone who will listen, pray, and give guidance. It's the telephone counseling ministry of the Edgewater Baptist Church. Please call 876-220-6474. Weekdays between 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. and Sundays between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Please talk to someone if you're finding it particularly challenging to cope during this period of global crisis. Someone is waiting for your call. Please reach out today. 876-220-6474. It's the telephone counseling ministry of the Edgewater Baptist Church.
This is a reminder that somebody cares. Endorsed by Love 101.
He knows my name.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. Let's join Deidre for a look at how our Facebook and WhatsApp friends answer today's question. Why do you need to know all that the police knows about a case you're interested in? Deidre, I gather that there are some comments that came in.
Yes, there are. Faith from Washington Gardens. Good morning to everyone. The police needs to be selective in what they share with families and the public in general. Wrongdoers can use police information to further their cause. I think the police talk too much at times and prejudice cases and situations. Sister Mahoney says the police, they are something else. They are here to serve and to protect. Some of them don't care. Some of them are too corrupt. They need to leave the force. Big up to Sergeant Mahoney in Bagwalk. Okay, Stacy Brown says, I don't need to know all the police knows. However, I need to know that the case is making progress. And then we have a voice note here from Lynette.
Good morning to all the boys of the Morning Watch. I am Lynette Nelson. I'm Shane. I believe that, yes, we should know, our listeners should know what the police know. Too much secretive things done in Jamaica. This is a country and we say we are independent and we should know what is going on. Sometimes you have a case and went to the police station, you report it, and they say they'll take it up in hand. And something you wait to hear to get a call from them to know what is going on. And just go on and go on, you have the rhythm around and throw around and throw until you don't hear nothing and you just go down the GM. And the police have to be people that you're confident. And it makes sense to go to a station and report something. And 2 minutes time your name call. And sometimes that's why some people are in jeopardy because they don't know to confident. They're afraid to go to the police. That should never be in a country like Jamaica, a country that is independent, and we should be really independent. That's my take this morning.
Wow, quite a lot there. Any more, DJ?
No more comments.
No more comments. And that was a pretty lengthy voice note, and the other comments. Keep them coming in, and we love when our listeners and viewers comment. So keep those comments coming in. We move right now into the second watch now. And there is a belief, even an expectation from members of the public, maybe not all, that the police tell them or should tell them all they know about a particular case. And the question always is, or can be, when and what should they know? Should the public know? And how is sharing or the sharing of information by the police done? Now, this issue was highlighted once again with the case of Donna Lee Donaldson. And note, for the purposes of this segment, we are not interested in a particular or specific case or even in what was said, but would like to understand the policies and the rationale behind what the police does and does not do in relation to information given to the public. We have online this morning to help us unravel and discuss this SSP Stephanie Lindsay, head of the CCU of the JCF. We also have Lloyd Shackelford, attorney at law. Good morning, SSP Lindsay. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. Good morning.
Great having you both again. Now, does the public, I'm going to start with you, SSP Lindsay, does the public have a reasonable expectation to know, toe to toe, what is happening in any case?
I don't know what you mean by toe to toe. I will say that the public does have an interest.
Let me reframe because I want the listeners to appreciate the question and for you to appreciate the question. So when you're answering, you're fully cognizant of what we are expecting. Does the public have a reasonable expectation to know in detail all the details of what is happening in any case?
Right. So you say the public has that expectation. Well, the public may have that expectation. No.
Is it a reasonable expectation?
No.
Well, that's a direct answer. And why?
So I would say that the public it's reasonable for the public to expect updates on matters under investigation. However, from a law enforcement standpoint and from a justice standpoint, a matter that is under investigation, we are investigating with a view of getting some results. And in many instances, the result that we get is matters will have to go to the court. So we also have to communicate in a way and update the public in a manner that we don't compromise any information that will become evidential value in the future that could make the case even prejudiced against a person who is later found to be a suspect or an accused person in a matter. So we recognize, and we always say, not because the public have an interest in getting all the information, mean that sharing the information is within the public interest. So there are matters that you can't divulge, especially in an active investigation, because it can compromise the case. It can make it unfair to a person who is eventually arrested and charged in the matter. Also, it can also make it beneficial to someone who is charged in a matter, because if you ventilate evidence in the public domain from a law enforcement standpoint, the defense in that matter can challenge whatever you put forth in a court of law, because they are going to say that that information is prejudicial to their clients, because any witness that come forward to give evidence, they can always say they heard it on the radio, they saw it in social media, the police were discussing it. So that is why we want the public to understand that there are instances when we will share enough for them to know that things are being done, but we can't give them all the information that we have in relation to a matter under investigation.
Very interesting. And before we head to the break, Mr. Shackelford, any comments? Because she touched on some of few issues that I know Defense Counsel will be very concerned about. Mr. Shackelford?
Yes, I'm here. Good morning. Here's the thing. These things usually begin at the point of the police receiving information, whether a telephone call or envelope or whatever. And as a result of that, they proceed to investigate. And as a result of their investigations, they may have intelligence, which may crystallize into information, which they will pursue.
Hold on to that thought 1 second, Mr. Shackelford, because I do see where we are already upon a break. But hold that thought. Listeners, please stay with us. We'll be right back on the Morning Watch.
Keep fully connected with Flow Fiber Fast Internet at home and on the road with LTE data and calls for a fast, reliable experience anywhere. Over 500 communities have been upgraded since 2020, making more of Jamaica Flow Fiber Fast. And with Yard and Road, get Flow Fiber Faster Yard and LTE Road for as low as $3,999 plus GCT. Visit discoverflow.co to get connected on Jamaica's largest network. Conditions apply.
You're invited to listen to Dollars and Cents every Thursday at 8:16 a.m. We'll give you tips on how to make your money count, how to save, and how to grow your worth. It's all inside Dollars and Cents, brought to you by BPM Financial Limited, taking you higher. That's Dollars and Cents every Thursday at 8:16 a.m. on the family station, Love 101.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are now in the second watch, and the topic is the police's right to withhold versus people's wanting to know. And our guests for this segment, we have SSP Stephanie Linton of the Jamaica Constabulary Force. And we also have, in fact, she's the head of the CCU. We also have Lloyd Shackelford, attorney at law. Mr. Shackelford, just before the break, you were beginning to outline a couple of things in relation to, the investigation process and, responding to the issue or the concern in relation to just how much information should the police reveal about a case. Go ahead, Mr.
Yes. I'm not quite sure where I was, but I know that the investigations by the police may lead to, which as a result of intelligence, will lead to information which could be gleaned and crystallized, and as a result of that, they may pursue it, and it may result in them laying a charge against someone who is at that point a suspect, and subsequent to that, it may result in further. There is a preferring of a charge. It may result in the laying of an information which will specify what the offense is. Now, there are different things, and I'm just generally saying at the point where the person is a suspect, they have rights, and there are things called judge's rules, which governs the interaction between the suspect and the police as to what can be seized, what can be disclosed. There are rules concerning those things, and then at the point of charge, that is where the information is laid. There are still other things, because the police will typically, although they may not agree all the time, be still investigation even at the point where they have laid a charge. They would still be investigating to get more information or to tighten up on what they have, whatever. But that is it. So the issue now is, what do they disclose? Do they disclose anything, something, everything? Clearly they can't disclose everything. They can disclose some things. And once again, I may say here, I don't know how many of these detective books you read or what you listen to, but the police sometimes do not disclose certain aspects of the investigation deliberately. And here it turns out that someone knows something that was not eager to disclose. The floodlight is shone on them. How did you know that? How did you hear that? Nobody had it in the news or anywhere. So how did you get it? So there's that. Plus, things can be done to obstruct the police in their investigations. Suppose they say, oh, we're going up to number so and so now to search it. You can't do that. You have to do what you have to do, as long as it is within the rules of law. That is the point. And so as much as we may want to know and wish to know, we need to temper that expectation with reality and acknowledge that we will hear. But at what point do we hear? Do we hear before the investigation? During? After?
Thank you, Mr. Shackelford. SSP Lindsay. In an age of the kind of technology we're using now, we have these things in our hands, oftentimes called smartphones, and people have become, maybe I don't want to say spoiled, but they have become used to or accustomed to getting information instantly. How do you find it a challenge trying to address that or navigate that sort of situation when the police, they know as a fact that they cannot disclose some information? They just can't. But there is this public pressure to know what the police have as information in their arsenal. SSP Lindsay?
Right. So the challenge we're having with that is that the advent of social media and everybody having information and sharing. The fake false information that's being shared. So, somebody starts a propaganda and before you know it, it is all over the world. So what it is doing, it is putting information out there that's not factual, not what the investigators are finding out. And then it is an expectation that you should always come out to defend or to say this is not the case and all of that. So the investigators, we have to be very mindful. The council mentioned the judge's rule because there are rules and provisions under which an investigation must be conducted. So even with all the noise out there and people wanting to know and people pushing out information, we have to confine ourselves to the facts. So if something is out there in the public domain, we're going to look at it because it could be somebody giving us information that could be converted to intelligence, that could be actionable. But at the same time, we're not going to jump at everything that we see out there and comment on it because somebody is saying it, because we recognize also that perpetrators of crime have their own machinery that they use in social media to disrupt the investigation.
Oh.
So we are these are ways. So you now have to make sure that as investigators, we're not responding to those and jumping at those at the expense of justice. So we have to be very mindful of those. So it does create a challenge, but for us as investigators, we know the rules, we know the parameters in which we can work and speak, and we confine ourselves to that. Sometimes the public are not necessarily happy with us because they want to hear more and they want to get all the detail, but unfortunately, in law and in the interest of justice, we can't do that.
Okay, let's paint a scenario here. Let us, for argument's sake, say there was, I don't know, maybe a bank robbery. And there were cameras everywhere, and the perpetrators were wearing masks on their faces, etc., etc. And persons claim that they know who these people are for whatever reasons. And you have information that may corroborate some of what the public is saying, and you may have other information that says something very different. So you have this, you have something almost like a raging crowd over on one side saying, this is what happened. And your information is that, okay, some of it happened, but other things happened. In short shrift, how do you just sort of, how do you, I don't want to say pick and choose, but how do you decide exactly what to say to the public and what not to say, if I may ask?
All right. So the scenario that you paint is that we have a bank robbery, and we have some footage. Not clear because people are wearing masks. We have some persons who are saying, well, we are in the know, we know what happened. These are the individuals. What we would like in that case like that is for those individuals with that information to come forward to the police and tell us what you know. Because the footage may not help us in every aspect because they might be wearing masks and it's not clear. Identification may be an issue. But having spoken to the individual, that individual could provide us with some information that seems very plausible and something that we can act on. So based on what we have on footage and with that, and we hope that in the process of the robbery, they left some DNA. So if we said, here's an individual, this is a video, your DNA is at the system, we put all the pieces together, then we may say, well, we're onto something. Sometimes it is not sufficient. It is not sufficient, so we still have to investigate some more. But as it relates to the public, we go to the public when we need them. So we have these videos. It may be necessary to put these videos out to say there was a robbery. We have this footage. Is there anybody who can identify these individuals? Sometimes people know people without even looking at their faces, even though we know that when close with it is going to be a matter that they're going to tell us. But that's coupled with other evidence can bring a case together. So when we need to go to the public, we go to them for support, to assist with investigation. We go to them to update them on cases that are being investigated because we know they have an interest in knowing what is happening. So you will update them as to where you are, what you're going, and how they can support it.
And
So
I want to take it up. I'm going to take it up a notch now, SSP Lindsay, because a bank robbery may not, cause a lot of emotions to, be what's the word, ruffled. But if it's a child who goes missing and someone says, we last saw the child in the company of that particular individual, and then you find out the child unfortunately was murdered, and then people start pointing fingers. The child was last in that person's company. How do you navigate that as well?
All right, so a child goes.
You're not just dealing now with a crime that has alleged to have occurred, but you're dealing with the high level of emotions that are being expressed on social media and in public.
Right. So in a matter like that now, we don't know. So you work from the known to the unknown. So if you know for fact based on somebody who's coming to say, this was the last person I saw with the child, then the investigators are definitely going to do a lot of the initial investigation around the individual.
Yes.
Even as we investigate and so on, we can't be in the public chastising this person, giving information that this person is actually culpable and so on until we know. So as we investigate, we can always acknowledge publicly that we have information that this was the last person seen with the child, and we are investigating. But until we find any information of fact to link this person with the person as a suspect in the matter, then we can't go publicly, and because John Public is going to be saying this and all of that, we can't necessarily respond to that. We have to respond based on what we know, and in many instances, in the initial stages, it could very well be that that individual is culpable. But until we know, we just have to continue with the investigation and all the
statements and all of that.
Investigate, but we can't be a part of the person who are going out there, chastising people on social media, making them out to be criminals without any fact or any evidence to support whatever claim we make.
We are literally out of time already, but I think I'll ask Mr. Shackelford to give us a final word. Mr. Shackelford?
Yes?
Any final words you want to leave with us? Because we said a lot today.
Yes, we have. But just to say that there is something called disclosure of information, where a charge has been preferred.
Yes.
There is usually a requirement to disclose information to the other side. I know that is not the public, but it is counsel. But once it gets to counsel needs to have discussions with their client and their witnesses, and through that process, a lot of information that comes because it will go to the public, in inverted commas.
Yes.
So information in and of itself is not really the problem, it is the sensitive nature of it. You know, time-specific information. When do you disclose what?
Yes.
Those are the issues, as I said, that would be strategic and tactical. And that is why the police have a communications unit, headed up by the very able senior superintendent. So,
yes,
sometimes I feel that they can tell us a little more, but I have to be constantly balancing in my mind what is the benefit and what is the cost.
Have to leave it there today only because of time. Never enough time in the morning watch. Thank you, SSP Lindsay and Mr. Shackelford. And thank you, listeners, for being with us today. Join us again tomorrow as we look at other topical and controversial issues, and visit the Love 101 FM YouTube channel and the Facebook page for this and all other Love 101 FM programs. Listen to the Morning Watch on our Love 101 app and download it today and stay connected to the family station, Love 101 FM, the number one gospel station in Jamaica. This has been the Morning Watch. Thanks to our producer, Kathy Gale, and to our guests. I am Stokeley Marsh, and back in the morning with DJ Parchment.
The NHF is here for you, helping Jamaican residents pay less for medication with the NHF card. The time